Warning, the following programs contain spoilers. Hello everybody and welcome to the second round of the Battle of the Rookies. I am your host Game & Soy, and today we have an amazing lineup of fights that have a ton of meaning going forward. 8 robots remain as we have a total of 4 fights today, and the winners all moving on into the semi-finals. All 8 of these robots have already won their first fights in the first round, and now they are looking ahead and one step closer at becoming the RoboMania Champion. As the robots are still getting prepared for tonight's fights, let's take a look at the rules of the arena. Each fight will be a total of 3 minutes long unless it is a championship fight or a main event, which will be a total of 5 minutes long. Each minute, the judges will award the winning robot a total of 10 points, while the opponent gets 9 points or fewer depending on the dominance of that minute. The judges will base their scorecards on damage, control, and aggression, which means a robot must follow all 3 of these criterias in order to win. In order for a robot to win a fight, it must immobilize, destroy, or eliminate the opposing robot before the fight timer is up. If the fight were to end after all the time is up, then it will go to a tiebreaker where the judges will determine a winner based on their scorecards. The fights that are happening tonight are amazing fights on paper, and I am extremely excited to see how they will turn out. Later on tonight, we will see the hard-hitting number 5 ranked Killa B take on the very aggressive number 4 ranked Wraith. We will have the newly updated PackAPunch take on the favorite of the tournament, Werewolf. Before that, the rising star Red Dragon will have a flipping match against the always game Steel Drifting. And first, we will see the full body flipper Airborne take on the overhead spinner Nuts and Bolts. 8 robots have already been eliminated from the tournament, and 4 more will join that list. Let's jump into the first fight of round 2. Coming off a very close fight, Airborne will try to redeem itself against one of the favorites to win the tournament. Nuts and Bolts also didn't have an easy time in the first round, however. It will try to make sure that the number 2 rank belongs. Even though Airborne won its last fight against social distancing, it wasn't a pretty performance. Almost being eliminated multiple times, Airborne came back and TKO'd social distancing. Airborne will need to put the past behind it in order to out-grapple the overhead spinner that is Nuts and Bolts, who definitely has momentum on its side. Coming off of a victory by unanimous decision over Scoop There It Is, Nuts and Bolts will try to get its first career finish in RoboMania. And we are live for our very first match of round 2. We have the number 2 ranked Nuts and Bolts going up against the number 10 Airborne. Both of these robots are ready for tonight's fights, and I am excited. Out of the red square, we have the number 10 ranked Airborne coming off of a TKO victory against social distancing. This robot will try to have the same exact type of win in order to move on into the next round. It will be going up against the number 2 ranked Nuts and Bolts, defeating Scoop There It Is via unanimous decision with a staggering 124 career strikes. That is a lot of strikes. 3, 2, 1, let the first fight of round number 2 begin, and Airborne almost immediately flips over Nuts and Bolts. Wow, it seems like Airborne is actually getting underneath the wedges of Nuts and Bolts, which is amazing to see. Almost flipped over again, and Airborne is coming out strong in this first minute of the fight. Flips over Nuts and Bolts almost one more time. And it seems like this wedge fight is going to be very important to see. And Nuts and Bolts is on its heels immediately once the first second of this fight has started. Flipped over on its back. And now Airborne is controlling this fight while his opponent is on its back. And flips over Nuts and Bolts one more time. Maybe out of mercy, but who knows? Airborne still moving forward like a zombie almost. Just taking the shots, keeps moving forward, and keeps flipping over Nuts and Bolts. Wow. pinned up against the wall, flipped again. That is multiple flips. And Nuts and Bolts is now on its back again. You gotta think how much gas is left in the tank of Airborne and how much damage has Nuts and Bolts taken in this first minute and a half of the fight. And it seems like Nuts and Bolts finally gets underneath the wedge of Airborne, but does not capitalize on it, and Airborne gets right back to what it was doing and pins Nuts and Bolts against the wall. Airborne has actually added some pounds in this fight. It maxed out at, I believe, 108 kilograms. So it is a different robot coming into this fight. Nuts and Bolts seems like it hit Airborne and flipped itself over. I'm not sure if that was a flip on Airborne's part, but it did somehow get flipped over. And now Nuts and Bolts is working on its back. I see some smoke. I'm not sure who that's coming out of. I believe it's Nuts and Bolts. Just based off of how many times it's been flipped over. Under a minute left in this fight, and we have a countdown. Will the number 10 seed cause an upset in round number 2? The number 2 seed is eliminated by TKO. Nuts and Bolts eliminated. Airborne will move on into the semi-finals. Wow. As you can see, this was just from the very beginning of the fight. Nuts and Bolts just got dominated. Airborne just knew what to do in this fight, just continued to flip and pin Nuts and Bolts against the wall, and it all came down to these wedges. Airborne was lower, and that's what caused this type of fight to go how it did, and Airborne just showed dominance. Right here you can see Nuts and Bolts actually getting underneath, not capitalizing, and this was the hit. I believe, yes, it was a hit that caused Nuts and Bolts to flip itself over and lose the match. And with another upset, Airborne will move on into the semifinals, going up against the winner of Red Dragon and Steel Drifting. Both of those robots are a flipper, so for the semifinal match, we will be looking at another Flipper's Delight. While Red Dragon is coming into this fight after a brawl with Yin and Yang, it will need to now focus on Steel Drifting, a robot who had the exact opposite fight where it lasted less than a minute. Steel Drifting will look to end this one quickly again. Coming off a potential Fight of the Year candidate, Red Dragon will now need to focus on a Flipper's Delight matchup. Almost being knocked out in its first fight, Red Dragon will need to try not to take as much damage this time around, while Steel Drifting had an easy win and is hoping to continue the momentum. And for our second fight of the night, we have the number 14 ranked Red Dragon going up against the number 6 ranked Steel Drifting. Both robots are flippers, and both robots will be trying to flip over the opposing robot in the process. Coming out of the red square, we have the number 14 ranked Red Dragon, a robot that is coming off a potential Fight of the Year with an amazing Cinderella story. This robot is a fun robot to watch, and it will be going up against the number 6 ranked robot Steel Drifting, who is coming out of the blue square. This robot has the fastest finish in RoboMania history, going up against King Krabby, which we'll be trying to do again. Steel Drifting versus Red Dragon, an amazing match I've been looking forward to. Red Dragon immediately gets flipped while Steel Drifting tries to get that same flip that I got 2 weeks ago. But now they have traded flips, Steel Drifting on its back as well as Red Dragon, and Red Dragon trying to get that pin in, but can't quite get it right now. And Steel Drifting getting around the sides, flips over Red Dragon, and this match is starting out amazing. And Red Dragon now flipped on its wheels actually, while Steel Drifting flipped itself over. That is one thing we have to keep an eye out for these two fights, is we got to see how these robots will act when they flip another robot over, if they will flip themselves over in the process. Steel Drifting actually does a fun little flip where it flips over Red Dragon, and now they are back at the pushing match. Steel Drifting gets a great flip in, and another one which actually almost flips Red Dragon out of the arena. And now Red Dragon is coming back saying, no, you can't do that. gets flipped in once more and pushed against the wall almost. Not quite. And we are back to a normal fight, flipped again. And this fight is entertaining so far. Red Dragon trying to get underneath, gets a good angle, grapples and then flips. Not quite a suplex, but still does a great job getting that flip and pins Steel Drifting against the wall. Lets it count down. Can Steel Drifting self-right? It does. And trying to take the back. Does it have much gas left? That's the true question. Can Steel Drifting continue to flip? Gets flipped once more. And Red Dragon now stuck on its back on top of Steel Drifting. Now Red Dragon is electrical, so it will not run out of gas, but Steel Drifting is gas. So that is something we're going to have to look forward to. Just under a minute left and there's a countdown that has begun. And I'm not sure what it's at right now. 3 seconds, and this fight might be over. It is! Red Dragon! The Cinderella story continues! Another upset in round number 2. Red Dragon will move on to the semifinals. And let's take a look at some of these replays. Steel Drifting started out pretty decent, actually getting more of the flips that were significant, but almost out of the arena right here. Twice almost out of the arena. But this is where Red Dragon did its flip, and that's what started everything. Red Dragon trying to get a suplex, but just flips over Steel Drifting in the process. And Red Dragon moves on. And with another upset, Red Dragon will move on into the semifinals where it will fight Airborne. That matchup is going to be very interesting because yet again, we have 2 flippers who will be going head to head. And 1 flipper will move on into the finals of RoboMania. If you guys are enjoying this video so far, please consider rating this video. I have put in a ton of time making sure that you guys are entertained, and it will very much be worth it if I hear how you guys have enjoyed this video so far. Also, if you would like to see more content similar to this, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. It costs absolutely nothing and only takes a few seconds, and it'll mean the world to me. Coming into this fight, coming off one of the closest fights in the first round, the newly designed PackAPunch will look to turn things around against the number 1 seed, while Werewolf will look to continue staying on pace of becoming the champion. During the last fight from PackAPunch, it won a very close split decision against Noom Noom. The updated configuration of PackAPunch will have a big test while it takes on the favorite of the tournament bracket. Werewolf didn't dominate its first fight against 4, but it did end up showing great skill when it came to its flipper attachment. Werewolf will need to prove that its weapon is the real deal. And for our next fight, we have the number 1 seed Werewolf going up against the number 9 seed PackAPunch. PackAPunch has been redesigned. It has a Shreemic now, so this fight will be interesting to see. Out of the red square, we have PackAPunch, a robot coming off of a very close fight via split decision against Noom Noom. It can now self-right itself whenever it gets flipped over, and it is planning on using that going up against Werewolf, which will be coming out of the blue square. This robot is an amazing robot. It has a powerful lifter drum spinner combo, and it is coming off of a very powerful win over 4 via TKO. 3, 2, 1. Let this fight begin between Werewolf and PackAPunch, the number 1 seed versus the number 9 seed. I've been very excited for this fight, mainly because we got 2 pretty powerful vertical spinners going head to head. And I'm just very curious to see how this one's going to come out. Immediately, PackAPunch seems to be adapting to what it did in its first fight against Noom Noom and trying to go for those wheels, getting around the corners of the robot, and flips over Werewolf immediately. Just over 30 seconds left, and Werewolf has already been flipped over by a vertical spinner and is now taking more damage. Werewolf has lost multiple things. I'm not exactly sure what they are, but it seems like it's acting normal. It's driving normally right now, so I'm not sure if it's going to be important or not, but I guess we'll see. Werewolf backs up, flips over PackAPunch, gets underneath and tears a part off of PackAPunch in the process. PackAPunch has been definitely more aggressive in this fight thus far. It seems like PackAPunch is just the one that's chasing down Werewolf, pinning it up against its side, against the wall of the arena. This is a power statement. Wow. Werewolf gets out of it with that flip, and that was actually a pretty good escape by Werewolf. And now they are back in the center of the arena, where they are going to do a little bit of a dance, it seems like. But this configuration of PackAPunch it's amazing looking. It has a new wedge configuration, and it's also invertible, where it can flip itself back up with a Shrimmick. So I'm excited to see what happens if PackAPunch were to get flipped over again, and now pinning Werewolf up against the wall, doing some more damage. PackAPunch is doing really good against this #1 seed right now, putting it up against its heels, and flips it over once more. Flips it up, tears off a wheel. And now Werewolf, the #1 seed with just under a minute left, is not looking good. It does seem like PackAPunch has significantly slowed down though. We have about 30 seconds left in the match, and PackAPunch is being counted out right now. And this fight looks like it's going to be over. What? Out of nowhere, PackAPunch stops moving. And Werewolf will move on into the next round by TKO. What just happened there? The entire fight, it seemed like PackAPunch just was almost dominating this fight, ripping off components. Here's a good shot of Werewolf getting underneath PackAPunch with an amazing flip. But the rest of the fight, PackAPunch was just getting at the sides, getting underneath, pinning Werewolf against the wall. And just the entire fight, and then just stopped moving. I am genuinely confused right now about what just happened. Here's an excellent shot of PackAPunch flipping Werewolf over, and then pinning it against the wall, shredding off its back left wheel. And that's where it all ended. PackAPunch just stopped moving, and Werewolf just won. And with that fight, Werewolf will be moving on into the next round, where PackAPunch just didn't have enough in its system and didn't move on. Got eliminated via TKO. Werewolf will be fighting the winner of Killa B versus Wraith, which will be the fight coming up next. RoboMania is now on Discord. If you would like to see your very own custom robot entered into a video similar to this, then go ahead and click the link down below in the description. Our Discord is a friendly community who all love the hobby of watching robots smash into each other and destroy each other for fun. Even if you don't play this game and want to stay up to the news and announcements revolving around RoboMania, go ahead and check it out and have a chat with the amazing community. I'm looking at you guys. The one-punch knockout artist Killa B will need to have similar results when it faces a very durable vertical spinner, while Wraith has hopes to take this fight into deep waters in order to win this fight. With great power comes great responsibility. The hard-hitting Killa B will look to have a one-shot knockout yet again. Coming off the only knockout win in the first round, Killa B has a lot of power, but Wraith has a ton of armor and a powerful weapon which can cause problems in the long run. Wraith will need to have this fight last longer in order to come out as the victor. And for the final fight of round number 2, we have the number 4 ranked Wraith going up against the number 5 ranked Killa B. An amazing matchup on paper, both robots with very powerful weapons, and this is going to be fun. Fighting out of the red square, we have the number 5 ranked Killa B, an undercutting bar spinner with the potential power to knock out any single robot in this tournament, like it did against Shell Shock. It will be going up against the number 4 ranked Wraith, who will be fighting out of the blue square. This robot had a controversial win over Green Boa. It didn't really show itself much power, but I know for a fact that this robot has what it takes to win. For this match, I don't think we should be able to blink, but here we go, Killa B versus Wraith, and immediately off the bat, both robots go head to head, weapon to weapon, smashing into each other. The wedge comes off of Killa B, And the other wedge now comes off of Killa B. Both robots are like two juggernauts in this arena right now, going weapon to weapon, heel to heel. And now the bar spinner has been hit off of Killa B and now is pinned against the wall. I don't think Killa B has much left after that, just because half of its weight was on that bar spinner. Now it will not be able to push Wraith around. As you can see, Wraith is slamming it into the walls, causing some damage to the insides, adding up some control points as well. Killa B trying to get that push on the side of Wraith, but it doesn't seem to be able to do it. And now Wraith is taking it for a spin, slams it against the wall yet again. Wow. Wraith is really showing that this first fight was not a fluke when it barely got past Green Boa. And now it's showing everybody that this is the fight that it belongs in. Fire coming out of Killa B. One more slam, why not? Into the wall, Killa B goes. Sparks and more flames come out of Killa B. Oh my goodness. It looks like a battery's coming out. Slammed once more. This fight was not a fluke, guys. Wraith is the real deal. I seen the comments down below. I see you guys saying Wraith didn't deserve to move on. But here we go. Killa B gets knocked out viciously by the number 4 seed ranked Wraith. What an amazing performance by Wraith. That fight was absolutely what Wraith needed to do in order to prove that it belongs in this tournament. As you can see, this fight was amazing, guys. Both robots, right out the bat, just started hitting each other. It didn't matter what happened. They were in a phone booth when it came to this. There's that bar spinner, and that's where everything changed. Killa B getting slammed against the wall. Wraith, excellent driving. Just, honestly, the slams, I think, did more damage than everything else. Look at the air from that slam. Just an amazing performance. There's all the fire, the sparks that we love to see in this tournament. And a beautiful slam right there. One more, why not? Slammed against the wall. And Wraith, winner by knockout. And with the final fight of round number 2, Wraith moves on into the semifinals, where it'll face the number 1 seed Werewolf. The semifinals are now set, and we have an excellent couple of matches coming up with Werewolf versus Wraith and Red Dragon versus Airborne. 2 flippers and 2 vertical spinners. This is what I love to see. Only 4 robots remain as the semifinals will carry on next week, and the RoboMania Champion will be crowned. As always, it's been a pleasure to be here for these fights, and I will be looking forward to seeing how the rest of this tournament will pan out. My name is Game & Soy, and I will see you all next week for the finale of the Battle of the Rookies.